In New York City, Edward, a man with neurofibromatosis, yearns to be an actor but has only landed a minor role in an educational video. Despite his efforts, the director criticizes his performance, leaving him disheartened. During his subway ride home, Edward feels self-conscious under the stares of fellow passengers. However, an unexpected encounter occurs when a man hands him a business card, seeking individuals with unconventional appearances for a film, seemingly oblivious to Edward's disfigured face. As Edward returns home, he notices an attractive young woman moving into the neighboring apartment, sparking his interest. Upon entering his apartment, Edward discovers a water leak and starts his household chores when he hears a knock at the door. Startled, he cuts his finger, and his new neighbor, Ingrid, rushes in with a first aid kit. Ingrid's assertive nature contrasts with Edward's awkwardness, and she notices a photo of his mother, realizing his disfigurement wasn't congenital. Despite Edward's denial of being a writer, Ingrid finds his typed lines profound and suggests they collaborate as an aspiring playwright and actor. Incidentally, Ingrid had initially come to borrow laundry detergent. Edward's doctor warns him about the potential impact of his tumor growth on his vision and offers him the chance to participate in an experimental drug trial that could potentially cure his condition. Upon returning home, Edward discovers that Ingrid has painted his front door and deduces her involvement. However, the situation worsens as the hole in his ceiling grows larger. Edward takes the typewriter as a housewarming gift to Ingrid's apartment, but her boyfriend's arrival forces him to leave. Despite delivering an emotional performance during an audition, Edward fails to impress the producers. Discouraged, he shows Ingrid a social ad he was in, emphasizing the importance of embracing unique appearances in society. Although Ingrid is not particularly impressed, she unexpectedly suggests treating the skin on Edward's nose, which has never been touched by anyone besides doctors. Despite feeling uneasy, Edward undergoes an experimental treatment at a clinic where his face is scanned, a drug is injected, and a mold of his face is created. He receives a journal to record any changes in his condition. After the doctor redresses his bandaged finger, Edward notices happy couples on the streets and spots a new statue of Lincoln that appears to come to life and watch him. Later that evening, he finds a gift bag outside his door containing various items and a note of gratitude from Ingrid. As he settles on his couch and opens the candies, he unexpectedly starts coughing and removes the wet bandage from his hand. After discovering his miraculously healed finger, Edward's life takes an unexpected turn when a piece of his ceiling collapses, dropping a dead rat into his bucket. Later that night, he is awakened by rescuers who have come to retrieve his deceased neighbor. Deeply affected by the incident, Edward adopts the man's cat and witnesses the somber removal of the young man's body. The following day, during dinner with Ingrid, she expresses concern and pleads with him to never mention self-harm again. Their conversation shifts to plays, and Edward is surprised when someone taps on the window and waves at him. Ingrid declares that he will star in the play she's writing. However, heavy rain worsens the leak in Edward's ceiling, and as he inspects it, a chunk of plaster falls, injuring his face. The following morning, the doctor is astounded by Edward's condition, explaining that the healing process involves shedding diseased cells for healthy ones and provides Edward with a mask to monitor his transformation. Edward experiences a moment of recognition when someone from the advertisement acknowledges him and receives warm greetings from a bartender and another customer at a cafe. That night, Edward breaks down in tears, but reveals a handsome face underneath after pulling at his skin. Overwhelmed by the transformation, he even learns to whistle, something previously impossible due to his lip deformity. He goes to a bar, drinks with strangers, meets a woman, and ends the night in the restroom, marking a new chapter in his life. Concerned about Edward's absence from follow-ups, his doctor visits him the next morning. Edward, pretending to be the deceased previous tenant under the alias Guy Moratz, deceives the doctor and moves into a luxurious apartment. Over time, he becomes a prosperous real estate agent while dating multiple women. Despite his success, he remains unchanged deep down. One day, he encounters Ingrid on the street and discovers that she is directing a play titled Edward on a small Broadway stage, which is based on his life. During auditions for the role of Edward, he fails to impress Ingrid, but returns wearing a mask, surprising her with his new appearance. Edward delivers an exceptional performance alongside the actress playing Ingrid, securing the role. He lies to Ingrid, claiming his childhood friend was like her, but has passed away, which overwhelms him during his first audition. Ingrid remains indifferent to his advances, and Edward feels insignificant in the theater. Thrilled to have found someone who understands her vision, Ingrid invites Edward to her apartment. Despite recognizing his old typewriter and the late neighbor's cat, Edward keeps quiet about their previous owners. They spend the night together, and Edward begins rehearsing for the play, showcasing his remarkable talent and expressing his inner thoughts through his performance. One day, a man named Oswald, who also has neurofibromatosis, visits the theater and becomes captivated by Edward's performance. Intrigued by Edward's talent, Oswald calls out to him in a bar, praising his acting skills and charming everyone present. During a rehearsal, Edward criticizes Ingrid's characterization, leading to an argument as she relies on experiences she lacks. Oswald arrives again and quickly bonds with the cast, drawing Ingrid's attention due to their shared interests. Despite Edward's growing irritation with Oswald's sociability, Ingrid invites him to stay for the rehearsal, further complicating the dynamics within the group. After the cast outing at a bar, Edward silently observes Oswald and Ingrid's animated discussion about her play's themes. Oswald expresses doubts about the protagonist's voluntary ending, believing that such individuals deeply cherish life. Despite Edward's outward laughter, he grows increasingly bitter inside. As Oswald entertains the group with jokes and anecdotes, Edward wakes up one night to find Ingrid rewriting the play. She agrees with Oswald's assessment that Edward's character is too bland and gloomy, making him a victim in an obvious narrative trap. Edward becomes enraged, feeling ignored when he raised similar concerns, but now willing to revise the script based on Oswald's observation. Their heated argument at the next rehearsal leads to Edward losing his temper, causing his mask to slip off repeatedly. Frustrated, he storms out and encounters a joyful Oswald practicing yoga surrounded by beautiful women and admiring the living Lincoln statue in the park. Oswald and Edward go to karaoke, where Oswald's unique voice captivates the crowd, leaving Edward in disbelief. During the next rehearsal, Edward learns that Ingrid has given Oswald his role and changed the play's concept, adding a handsome man role that Oswald insisted on. Edward is devastated, especially when he discovers how much Ingrid knows about Oswald's personal life. He argues that no one will believe such a transformation, but Ingrid counters that it doesn't matter since the heroine sees the protagonist through the eyes of love. Edward also faces rejection from Ingrid when he asks to meet that evening. The play premieres successfully, with Oswald receiving rave reviews for his performance. As Oswald's fame rises and his relationship with Ingrid deepens, Edward's mental state plummets. Witnessing Oswald with a woman and child, Edward confronts Ingrid, accusing Oswald of infidelity. However, Ingrid is aware of Oswald's daughter and his strong bond with his late wife, dismissing Edward's claims. Enraged by Oswald's impending move into his old apartment, Edward destroys the newly repaired ceiling. Haunted by memories, Edward greets potential buyers in his Edward mask and exhibits erratic behavior at the office, leading to his termination. In a climactic confrontation, Edward disrupts a theatrical performance, attacking Oswald on stage, resulting in a catastrophic collapse that severely injures Edward's limbs. During his recovery, Edward returns to his old apartment next to Ingrid, who now lives with Oswald and is planning a film adaptation of Edward's life with a renowned director. Edward remains passive and barely reacts to the news, spending his days observing Oswald's vibrant lifestyle, including playing the saxophone, exercising, and watching movies with Ingrid. Ingrid, now pregnant, exudes happiness, which confuses Edward's physiotherapist. When the therapist makes a disdainful comment about people like Oswald, Edward stabs him, resulting in his imprisonment. Years later, Edward encounters Oswald and Ingrid again. Ingrid's play continues to be successful on Broadway, while Oswald has retired, and the film adaptation never materialized, much to Ingrid's relief. The couple is content, and preparing to relocate to Canada to join an artist community as their children have grown. As a waiter approaches to take their order, Edward struggles to decide, prompting Oswald to order for him and playfully remark that his old friend hasn't changed a bit. This is where the movie concludes. Here's the end. Subscribe for more movies like this. Thank you for watching.